welcome back to another episode of Under the Sun Sports. I am joined today, as always, by my friends Chris Valeni and Pat Resnick. I am Mike Chiacheri. I will be your host tonight. We have a great show on tap, guys. Sports have really gotten underway a little bit more. They've definitely kicked up since we've last met. We're going to get into some NBA, some NHL, some MLB, and some NFL. Also talk a little golf and give a couple bets. But firstly, how you guys been doing? How's the week been?
Good. Been dry here. I heard you guys got hit pretty hard with some crazy storms on there on the East Coast.
Yeah, it was nuts, but it's over. We made it.
It was ridiculous. See, we never lose power, and we actually lost power yesterday for like 45 minutes. And I was like, I'm dying. Like, I don't know how to deal with this, So I don't know. We came through.
See, when I lived there, like my street for whatever reason used to always lose power. So like anytime there was like a gust of wind, I'd go on like Netflix and like download all the movies and charge everything up.
Get the external chargers ready to go.
Yep.
We had it ready, and the flashlights. We were ready, but it was only about 45 minutes. But still, I feel bad for people who lose power for like days at a time.
Yeah, I know.
They do that. But all right, let's get it kicked off here. We're going to do a little bit in this segment of basketball, hockey, and baseball, a little recap of what we've seen over the past week. I want to start first, guys, with some baseball. I know that they're the sport that has not been using the bubble method. They've just been kind of relying on players to self-quarantine, and they've had a bit of trouble. They've had some COVID outbreaks. It started with the Marlins. That spread a little bit to the Phillies. I believe it was like a coach and a clubhouse worker. They were fine, mostly after the tests. But I know it went around the Cardinals system. They just got healthy and they just started playing again. But it did result in some games that are postponed. Some teams are behind. So what's your guys' take? I wanted to know on how baseball is doing kind of versus hockey and basketball, and where do you see it going from here?
Yeah, it seems like baseball is in trouble. I think obviously the other leagues are definitely more contained. I don't even think that's an opinion. That's just a fact that baseball is like definitely the most relaxed, and they're traveling the most. And after the Cardinals, what do they have, like 13 players or something like that on the Cardinals?
Something like that. I think they just started playing again.
Yeah, and the players I think have shown like very little discipline. When you get that many people who are like used to a lavish lifestyle of doing pretty much whatever they want, I'm not surprised that like if you give them those opportunities to go out in the community and travel and restaurants and stuff like that, that there's going to be outbreaks. I think baseball is in trouble, but it seems like basketball is handling it pretty well, and hockey's handling it well. So optimistic for those two.
Yeah, I just don't understand how the MLB thought it was a good idea to just let them travel all over the place. They've had the most time to prepare and have done by far the worst. So,
and Manfred's done a pretty bad job at pretty much every part of his job since he started. So it's really no surprise that this is following suit.
It's funny. I was just going to say people seem to kind of be a bit outspoken with, or I don't know, not people, but Twitter seems to be, and I guess I take that as everyone's opinion, but people are, not happy with the way Manfred's been running things. Do you guys think, what could he have done better?
Everything. They could have done hub cities. They could have had these like basically field trip officers they put in place. They could have had these in place to start. The Marlins should be fined. If we're going to go other than COVID, Manfred with the Astros is just ridiculous. They get no suspensions, and then Joe Kelly doesn't even hit Correa and gets suspended 8 games. Just everything he's done is just insane.
That was pretty ridiculous. I think everything's just been handled pretty poorly. I remember in the beginning, baseball seemed like they were going to be off to the best start. They were talking about doing that like spring training type thing where half the team stayed in Arizona and some were kind of in their own little bubble type thing. I don't think Florida was as bad back then, but it was just kind of like how they did spring training, and there'd be a few stadiums, but I guess they gave them the free reins, and some people have abused it so far. They haven't been able to kind of stay to themselves. But either way, hopefully, this is a wake up call to some of the players that they got to be a little more cautious, and Manfred he's been saying like they have to do a better job, and it's like, well, no, a lot of this falls back on you.
Yeah, and the weird thing is that like you mentioned, like the spring training setup is basically a bubble. Like you take the fans away, and that's what they have a million fields, and I know they want to play in the stadiums and they want those optics, but like people don't really care. They just want to see the game. So it's like, why can't they play at those spring training fields? Some of them have 4 or 5 fields on one complex there.
And they already do it. Like it's something they do every year. Like everything else to everybody is a new concept. Like this is something they literally do every year. Just keep it going,
Yeah.
So, all right.
One thing I think about that's been interesting about the NBA and the MLB comparisons, and it doesn't really make any difference, but how they put like fans in the stands in quotation marks, like the baseball had been doing like the cardboard cutouts.
Yep.
And I'm gonna fess up. I thought the NBA, the fans, the digital fans in their stands was like super weird at first. And now I've kind of come around and I like it. And I didn't fully realize it when I first heard about it that they were like on Zoom. Like the people
I didn't
like actually
they were real people like tuning into the game. I thought it was just kind of like digital people that they created and they were clapping, because I was like, why are these people like clapping in the stands, and like how do they know to make do that?
That's
and
really
also
cool.
I don't know if you guys saw in the Miami Heat game, but a girl had flashed and it made its way on TV.
No,
I did not see that.
Yeah.
Oh man. See that? Oh my, but like theoretically, you can see that happening. Like, what's stopping you? Like, what's stopping? Like, are they editing this before it goes to like, I don't know,
Well, do you know how do people get on for that? I mean, I'm assuming
wondered that
they
too.
pay some kind of money and.
I saw a commercial for like Michelob doing it or something. If I'm remembering, it was really weird.
Either way,
it was some beer commercial.
Maybe we'll have to do a little research on that, and if it's easy, we'll get on one of the Sixers games.
Yeah, the next show we can do while on the
while watching
the Sixers game.
We'll one box it. We'll just have 3 of us in the one fan seat.
I like it.
That'd be fun. All right, so with baseball, is there anything else? Have you seen any games? Is there like maybe one more takeaway you've noticed just from the actual games, aside from the COVID, if you've seen anything?
Just that Mike Trout's never going to win.
Why?
I know he missed a game or two, but that Angels team is off to a horrible start again. I don't know what it is. They just keep adding pieces and just can't put it together.
What's their pitching like, though? I feel like it's not the strongest.
It's not great. Actually, Tehran comes back tonight. They signed him to a 1-year deal, which should help, but
yeah, I mean,
all over the place.
And Ohtani can't pitch the rest of the year. That's what I heard.
Can't pitch. Griffin Canning's a really good young pitcher for them, and Haney's pretty good.
And Bundy's actually been pretty good so far.
Yeah, he has, which surprised me.
Yeah. But. All right, Pat, how about you? Anything from baseball or?
No, I mean, I think from the Phillies standpoint, I'm a little bit worried about our bullpen and how far that's going to be able to take us, or basically how far that's going to keep us from going.
Yeah, I totally agree. I remember that was one of the things that I said when talking about the Phillies. I was like, everything looks good. I think if the pitching can step up, if the bullpen scares I said something, I think the crap out of me or something like that. And it has been pretty horrible so far. So we'll have to see what's going on from there. All right, let's move on real quick. We're going to go to the NBA. Let's do that. So they've done a fantastic job. The NHL again and the NBA, we can lump them together. I know that the NHL has again tested last week. They've shown 0 positive tests. Thousands of people tested. I mean, the NBA is doing daily tests. If a player misses a daily test, they are not allowed to play that day. And I'm pretty sure that happened to a Sixer, was it? I think, or who was it?
I don't think any have missed time.
Maybe it wasn't, but either way. No, it seems great. It's really locked down. So from the opposite side, what's impressed you about both of those bubbles, and are you surprised they've been able to keep it so clean?
I mean, I'm not surprised they've been able to keep it clean because it seems like they've been really strict with the containing the bubble. What I think is interesting is they still follow all the masks and the 6 feet protocol. Not all the time, obviously, for the players, but the people on the sidelines and the trainers and stuff like that, which I thought was super interesting because even though they're in the bubble, they're trying to think if somehow one person gets infected, could we still salvage it and keep it from being this 13 people outbreak we're seeing in baseball. And I mean, it seems like they're going above and beyond, and really trying to make the season work and make it to the playoffs and get that underway.
Yeah, I've noticed it in both leagues. I mean, when players have been injured, I mean, the coaches and trainers coming up have all been wearing masks. So just to speak to that, it's very impressive. And the thought did go through my mind, like, you're all living this bubble together. You all get tested all the time. Like, you're all probably fine. But just to speak to it again, like, they are going above and beyond. That just really separates them, I feel like.
Yeah, and I think that's what you need to do, because just one person can get it, and then next thing you know, you're like the Marlins or the Cardinals.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think what's funny is just like you see, and this is, I think, a microcosm for like how people respond to COVID, like in society, is like they're super, super cautious, the masks and the distancing and the testing, all that kind of stuff. And you see, like in baseball, like the coach put the mask on to like go argue with the umpire. And then in hockey, they're just like fist fighting, sharing blood, like right in each other's faces. And it's just like, they take all the precautions, and then like at some point they're just like, all right, forget it. Like, we're going to pretend like COVID doesn't exist for the next like 5 minutes. And that's, I mean, you see people kind of do that in society too, but you see it in sports where it's like all these precautions. And then at some point it's just like, they end up being super close to each other and, sharing spit and sweat and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I think in any sport it's hard to not be close to people, but, obviously you're going to be right up against people no matter what you're in. But like you were saying, I think everyone's doing a great job. Let's go to the NBA. What have you noticed about the players, the games? I've noticed a lot of high intensity. I like what I've seen so far. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, it's been really entertaining so far, especially with the teams at the top, like Lakers, Clippers, Bucks. I know the Bucks had a bunch of guys yesterday, but other than that, most of the stars have been playing big minutes. And I know the Lakers said they're playing all stars tonight and tomorrow, which surprised me.
I bet some money on the Bucks yesterday, and I wasn't aware that they're resting people, so I'm a little upset about that. I'm not going to be betting basketball anymore for a while, but yeah, I digress.
Yeah, they like hit the lottery with like the restart and every game in the beginning being like super close. I mean, basketball's, it tends to be that way anyway. A lot of really close games, but like especially those first like 3 or 4 nights, it was like every game was like a buzzer beater or an overtime game or coming right down to the wire. And I think that really like it was really good for the NBA to have some excitement and not be like a 15-20 point blowout the first night. So it was fun to see them back and competing again.
Yeah, I remember I was watching. I was captivated. I was watching. I think it was the first night. It was the Rockets and the Mavericks, and I was just like, "This game is amazing." Like Russell Westbrook was going off. That dude can score at will. It was fantastic, and I think the Mavs ended up blowing a lead. It was close. I've just been very impressed. I think it's great. Like you said, the virtual fans, the atmosphere feels great. I think the NBA is just doing an awesome job.
What I thought was really cool too is one of the first games I watched, there were a bunch of, it looked like fans sitting there at the behind each basket, and then they said that other teams' players are actually allowed to come in and sit there and watch, which I thought was kind of cool too.
That is pretty cool. I like that. Like you see the pitchers watching, kind of. I mean, that's their own team, but it does give another unique perspective. I feel like athletes. Like imagine just being able to watch anyone else's game at any time because you're all in the same place. It's almost like a scouting type thing. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's like in Little League baseball where you play like one game and then you spend like another 12 hours at the field just like watching your friends play. Just like would never play some run the bases in right field and go to the shack, get a hot dog.
Exactly.
Sit there for more hours.
Any games that have stood out to you guys? Have you watched any games or any specific players that have stood out?
I mean, Westbrook looks great, like you said. Luka's looked really good. Trying to think who else.
I mean, Anthony Davis has been a monster.
Yeah, TJ Warren.
Oh, it wasn't even only the game against the Sixers. He did it again the next game, didn't he?
Yeah, 3 in a row. We had over 30 points, I think.
Unreal.
And I mean, I think the thing with the Sixers that's pointing out to me is like trying to figure out who's going to be our closers at the end of the game. I think that's a real concern. I mean, like I just mentioned, every game seems to come right down to the wire, and it's even more so that way in the playoffs. And I mean, I love Embiid, but like he gets doubled, at the end of every game. Simmons obviously can't shoot. I feel like it's either going to have to be Tobias or Shake. Like one of them is going to have to emerge with like some cold blood to be able to win us a playoff series, because right now we look terrible in close games at the end. I know we just pulled the one off today, but it's like you don't feel good. They had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter today, and I was like, all right, let's see how this goes. You never felt like they were in control.
And that kind of seems to be their problem. I feel like they compete so well for a few quarters and they just can't close it. It just seems
Yeah.
So that kind of does bring me into my question I wanted to ask for both the Flyers and the Sixers. If the Sixers are hypothetically going to get to the conference finals or the NBA finals, either one, let's just call it making a deep run, what's going to have to go right for them?
Simmons, assuming he's not hurt, is going to have to start shooting because it slows down at the end, and then they can't get any spacing because he can't shoot. So they also have to start closing out games, like you said. It's been the past couple years they've had this problem. I don't understand why it never changes.
Yeah, I think the Sixers, obviously, like I said, the shooting, those two guys, and then I don't know if Alec Burks or who's going to be our shooters like down the stretch, who we feel confident, because once Embiid gets doubled in the post, he's going to kick it out to somebody, and how confident. Like Shake hit that shot the other day, but it looked like he didn't even know the ball was coming. Like he ended up with the ball in his hands and just kind of shot it. You could tell that wasn't the play at all. And then I think the other thing with the Sixers is turnovers in the fourth quarter. Like they have a ton of turnovers, obviously. Like I don't know where they set, in NBA averages, but I know they're towards the top in their turnovers. And it just feels like they try to make these like crazy athletic plays. And I don't know, Thibault had one today where he tried to throw it behind his back on a breakaway. He could have easily just laid it in. And it literally it could not have gone any more to the guy on the other team, just like straight. It looked like he was passing to him. For the Flyers, I think you guys probably know better than me, but I'll take the cop-out answer, which is I think Carter Hart has to stand on his head. I think that's the case in hockey with any team. You never see a hockey team go on a deep run without a goalie playing super hot, but him especially, because he's one of our best players, if not our best player on our team.
No, that's a fantastic point. I absolutely love that. I mean, like, you look at what goaltending can do, and I mean, I'm watching Game 3 of the Penguins and Canadiens right now. That was a series that wasn't even supposed to be close. Montreal's got it tied 1-1, and they have a 1-0 lead in the first period because of Carey Price. It's the reason why they're even close. The teams aren't even close in talent, but you have a good goaltender, and it just goes to show that you can go very far. So that's a fantastic answer.
Yeah, my other thing with the Flyers.
Nailed it.
Yeah, you did. My other thing with the Flyers, too, is I think they need to continue to get points from their bottom six forwards. I know it's just one game and they kind of lit it up, but I'm not one of these Giroux haters. I think he's underappreciated, but he has had a tendency in some playoff series to be kind of quiet, and that same with Voracek and those top two lines over the years. I know it's been a different mix of guys with those two in there, but if they can get something on the bottom six, it's definitely going to help them out.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the moves they made at the trade deadline, too, I remember saying, like, at first I was a little underwhelmed seeing all the other talent that kind of went to some teams. The Islanders got Peugeot. Some other teams made some springing trades for some scorers. And I see that we got Nate Thompson and Ryan Grant. And I kind of thought, I'm not, like, over the moon about it. But then you look at it and, like, these are guys that you need for a playoff run. They're depth guys. They're bottom six guys, but they're grinders. Grant can even score. Thompson had a goal in the last game.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's the kind of thing you need. It really balanced the Flyers out. I totally agree that those top two lines are fantastic, but the bottom ones can play with anybody as well. So the Flyers are as well-rounded a team as anybody is, and we'll see tomorrow when they play the Caps. I mean, they're looking in good position today. Boston lost today. They're 0-2. That means all the Flyers have to do is get a point, and they'll automatically move up at least one spot from the 4 to at least the 3, hopefully the 2. Tampa's really hot right now. It's tough to tell with that. Let's just transition real quick into a little bit of hockey. Chris or Pat, what have you noticed so far about the hockey? Have you been able to catch any games?
I've noticed that Carolina looked very good.
Yeah, no, it's all right, so that is the first thing that I said. So that's one series that Chris and I talked about. I had taken the Rangers, and he took the Carolina Hurricanes. The Carolina Hurricanes swept the New York Rangers. I'm eating crow on that one for sure. But I mean, here's the thing. I looked back at it and kind of thought, what was my thought process? I said that I'm going to go with the best player in the series. The best player in that series still is, on a day-to-day basis or a season basis, it's still Artemi Panarin. He did not show up. He had 2 points the whole series. That top line of Carolina of Teravainen, Aho, and Svechnikov absolutely owned everything. Sebastian Aho had 7 points in the 3 games. He was fantastic. They stepped up more, and they're a deeper team. And the goaltending kind of caught me off guard. I don't really think Reimer or Mrazek are exceptional goaltenders at all. But they played well. They played well enough, and the Hurricanes are moving on. So that was a great pick by you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I get one right every once in a while.
No, that was good. I mean, I looking back at it, it's funny. And hey, you even said that I kind of convinced you a little bit on the Rangers.
You did.
But you never really know. Anything
else?
Only
other takeaway I would just say is just continue to see how close the NHL playoffs are. I know Carolina 1-3, but I think every other series is like 1-1 right now, except Calgary's up 2-1, I think. The other thing that surprised me was the beatdown Chicago put on Edmonton in the first game. So it looks like, I know we talked about it, goaltending issues. It looks like they're going to come to bite them.
Yeah, the goal. It's such a shame. I was just going to say, I definitely want to talk about Connor McDavid too. He's literally not a human being. He's so fantastic. And even for any, even just the casual hockey fan, just watch an Oilers game because you have to watch Connor McDavid play. He's unbelievable. The first game he had 1 goal. He had a hat trick in the second game. He's just on another level. He makes people even the casual hockey fan can tell this guy is fantastic. He's fast. He can shoot. He's got hands. He does everything right. He's the kind of guy you got to watch. And he won them that second game, pretty much.
Yeah, there was a video I saw of him. I mean, you guys probably saw too. Is that one breakaway goal he had, and I think the quote was he looks like he's playing with in a video game with the game speed all the way up, and everyone else is just on rookie mode.
Exactly.
And that was exactly everyone was skating down. And he just whipped right by him with the puck, and it was just crazy how much faster he was than everyone else on the ice.
Yeah, you can be a defenseman and you can be ready for him, and he's still gonna blow by you. He's just otherworldly. So. Like I said, I mean, the Oilers, they should beat the Blackhawks, but the Blackhawks are a veteran team. You never know. That's why it's a fun series. I definitely will keep an eye on that one. And this one I got on right now, Montreal-Pittsburgh. I'm rooting heavily for the Canadians to pull this upset off, but you never know. It should be a good one. Anything else as far as hockey goes?
Not that I can think of right now. Just it's going to be pretty exciting if the Flyers win Thursday and Tampa continues to roll and that number 1 seed comes down to Saturday.
Yeah.
Did Tampa have a second game yet?
They did. They beat
they
beat Boston today.
Oh, that's who Boston lost today.
Yeah, they beat Boston today. Yep. I'm definitely excited, and next show we'll probably know our matchup, so that'll be awesome.
Yep, that would be great.
All right, very cool. I think that just about wraps it up for the 3-sport review. Do you guys have any last thoughts you want to pitch in before we move on to our next segment?
Nope.
That wraps it up.
Fantastic.